What exactly separates the old hag phenomenon from plain simple sleep paralysis? This is All Things Creepy. Let's begin. The old hag phenomenon is experienced by people all over the world. Not only that, but the experiences are quite similar. They feature an old, sinister-looking woman that sits on her victim's chest, causing a tightness of breath and temporarily paralyzing them. This happening directly after an individual has woken up, which is where the parallels with sleep paralysis come from. People all over the world experience sleep paralysis. However, for some reason, even in tribal remote areas, a lot of these episodes of sleep paralysis are involved with the encounter of an old hag. Coincidence, maybe? Or perhaps there is a psychological explanation as to why these very similar images are seen across very diverse and different cultures. Who knows? Maybe you watching right now have already experienced a hag, or maybe you will in the near future. So, here are 5 examples of vastly different cultures experiencing an eerily similar phenomenon. Number 1. South Carolina. Starting off in the Western world in North America's South Carolina, stemming from African American Gula law, the old hag is said to regularly haunt nightmares to this day. Following the typical theme, the victim is sat on by an old hag, and in doing so experiences sleep paralysis, a process known as being hag-ridden. Supposedly, the old hag herself is believed to have a physical body somewhere, and at night she leaves it and torments people in their sleep. The late YouTuber Angry Grandpa, rest in peace, was a local to this region and speaks about his experiences with the hag in this video.
Many years ago, I wasn't drinking, I was at my mama's house. And I was sitting in an easy chair. And all of a sudden, man, I couldn't breathe. It was like somebody took their hand, cut it off now. And I went, oh God, I was trying to talk, nobody could hear me. I'm trying to move, couldn't move. Next thing I know, somebody in the room saying, oh my God, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? And this black lady, that's the hag. That's the hag. She come up and she started cussing. Goddamn bitch, get off him. Get off him. He ain't done nothing to you. And I'm going, in my mind, man, I was trying to fight to get it. I couldn't move. The hag was laying on top of me. I couldn't move, man. She was like, I couldn't. I'm like, can't breathe, can't move. And that cousin made the hag move. So I asked the old lady, I said, what was that? She said, that was the hag. She said, you were sitting there and the hag was in the house and you were vulnerable. And the hag jumped on you. And when the hag jumps on you, you can't move, you can't breathe, you can't shit. And she's real. And she comes when you least expect her. And I've had the hag on me 4 times. So don't tell me the hag ain't real. The hag is very much real.
It's called sleep apnea.
It's called something like that.
Number 2. Fiji. An experience known as carnitivoro, or being eaten by a demon, is experienced on the island of Fiji. In the typical fashion of sleep paralysis, an individual wakes up and is unable to move, of course causing them to panic, and the locals believe that this is a demonic entity or a fallen spirit returning, trying to devour this living person. In an odd twist of events, those sleeping nearby who witness this event will often shout "Kania, Kania," which means eat, eat, with the implication that they want the spirit to feed off of this person so that they can convey some sort of message from the afterlife. Maybe they are a lost loved one or relative trying to reach out or say one last goodbye. Though I'm not sure how good a friend you are if you invite a demon to feast on me while I'm asleep. And whilst not exclusively an old lady, often the visitor is perceived as an old dead relative, which of course could be and commonly is an old lady. Number 3. Egypt. Modern day Egypt is primarily Arabic influenced, But of course, being the continent of Africa, it has seen many different ethnicities come and go. The most ancient of these, of course, before even the ancient Egyptians, would have been native Africans. And supposedly modern Egyptians today are sometimes visited by the spirit of an ancient African queen. She pins you down just like in any other case of sleep paralysis and supposedly attempts to take your soul. This is fairly strange stuff, and it kind of reminds me of stories from America about an ancient Indian burial site, things like that, where there's a fear for what came before, for those who aren't native, that is. I know I do have a few Egyptian subscribers, so please speak up in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Number 4. Brazil. In Brazilian culture, there is another link to sleep paralysis, and this one involves a skinny, tall old woman. Known as the Sidera, or she who steps, she allegedly lives on the roof and waits during the day until someone has slept with a full stomach, and then descends to step on their chest, causing an episode of sleep paralysis. She is described as a hideous old woman with long dirty nails, dried toes, white tangled hair, a long nose, red eyes, and even green rotting teeth. So whilst some of the others might be a little more ambiguous, I think she definitely fits the bill for an old hag, and also makes me want to reconsider ever eating before bed. Number 5. The Philippines. Filipino folklore is rich with creatures and demons, and one of these fits nicely into the old hag theory. The Batibat takes the form of a gigantic fat old woman who lives in a tree. When the tree is felled and the wood is used for the supporting structure of a house, naturally, she isn't very pleased. If someone ever sleeps too close to the post that was made from the tree the Batibat slept in, she will take vengeance on that individual, sitting on their chest with her gigantic frame, ultimately causing them to suffocate and die.
May napansin siyang ibang sumilip din sa eksena. Ang Batibat lumipat ng pwesto, tumitig sa ilalim ng isang puno at tumuling naupo.
And of course, if somehow you manage to escape, the symptoms experienced are very similar to that of sleep paralysis. However, apparently people have genuinely died in their sleep, and this creature is blamed for it. Sudden arthritic death syndrome apparently is quite common in the area. An individual suddenly becomes unable to breathe in their sleep. Of course, as they wake up, they can't do anything, and eventually they just choke to death, which is, of course, not very pleasant. But there you have it, 5 instances from vastly different cultures of an entity resembling the hag, visiting people in their sleep and causing them all sorts of torment, most often resulting in bouts of sleep paralysis and, in some cases, death. Of course, there is a more likely scientific explanation to all of these. It could simply be sleep paralysis and the power of human imagination. But maybe there is a little something more to this. Who knows? It's one of those situations where science hasn't quite caught up yet, and it's still left ambiguous. Hopefully you don't get visited by the hag tonight.